On today's hot sheet, I'm discussing how much income is needed in order to buy a home, the office exodus, and what is happening in the Austin housing market. Believe it or not, the Austin guy gets to do that. Today is March 5th. I'm Jeremy Knight, and the hot sheet starts now. Bobby, you got to stop putting question marks behind my name in the teleprompter. So, welcome to the Hot Sheet, the industry's only live daily news show on the internet, brought to you exclusively by BAM. The Hot Sheet covers what you need to know over the what you must know about the real estate industry over a 24-hour look back. For access to the charts and slides we'll be reviewing today and every day, sign up for BAMX. I am a member of BAMX, and I can assure you it is well worth every penny that I pay for that membership. This is where you get access to all the hot sheet, daily downloads, courses, bi-weekly masterminds, the BAMX community. Of course, you want to be in there. Use the hot sheet code Jeremy. It was Jeremy is hot, but apparently I said Jeremy I shot, so I blew that. So they shortened it. Use the hot code Jeremy. Rumor is, in fact, reporting is that Jeremy is the best and most used code for this. So I don't know who reported it, but maybe it was self-reporting. So use the hot sheet code Jeremy in order to get 10% off your subscription, and the link and the description. BAM is also hosting a free webinar with Luke Ackery on how to generate consistent referrals and listings from your sphere. I'd pay attention to that one if I were you in this market. It's happening tomorrow, March 6th at 3 p.m. Eastern. Sign up for the link in the description. Okay, where are you tuning in from today? I see Rebecca's here, Lenny's here. What's up, Michael? How are you? Jennifer Zoller, what up, Zoller team? How are you? Don, welcome. Thanks for having me back. I had to send BAM several checks for all the last ones that I messed up. So I finally paid enough. They allowed me to come back. Byron is on a plane to an undisclosed location where he is saving an orphanage of puppies. So everybody shout out Byron for being an amazing human and saving puppies. I love that guy. Okay, so a new Zillow report highlighted how how much income is required for home affordability, and how much it has surged by 80% since 2020. That's a lot. Since 2020, I remember buying my first house in 2012. And some of the information in here, when I read this, I was like thinking back when I bought my first home. Think back to when you bought your first home, right? What it took, what it cost. If you haven't bought a first home and you're a realtor, maybe it's time to start working that out. So this is far outpacing the median income growth, leading to increased reliance on alternative purchasing strategies and regional disparities in housing affordability. In fact, we're going to go over the disparity here in a second. Oh man, we got so many people in the comments. I live by the comment section, by the way. So if you write amazing comments in here, I will shout them out. I'm a comments guy, so keep them coming, especially Rebecca. Love to see you. Okay, there we go. Income requirements have increased. Now think about this. When you first bought a home, like how much were you actually making at the time? You know, for me, I was like probably making 45, 50 grand a year buying my first home, going, oh God, this is a lot. Now home buyers need to earn $106,000 annually to comfortably afford a home, representing an 80% increase since January 2020. A lot of that still has to do too with interest rates, right? Because a lot of people, when they're putting their first or buying their first home, they're doing 5 or 10%. In fact, this was based off of putting 10% down. Monthly mortgage payments for a typical U.S. home have nearly doubled since 2020, up 96.4% to $2,188 with a 10% down payment. Home values have risen 42.4% in the same time frame, with the typical U.S. home now valued at about $343,000. tell me if you, hey, Heather Witt, good to see you. If your market is the median of $343,000, tell me if it's not the median of 343,000, drop a comment below. I want to hear what your market looks like because the median for the US is 343,000. And with, I think when they did the poll numbers on this, interest rates were about 6.6% when they did this study. Now they're back up to about 7%. I haven't paid attention in the last day or two, but it's crazy to me that even as somebody who buys investment properties, when I'm looking at investments and I'm trying to look at the down payments, how many of you are buying investments still, by the way? I've seen quite a few of you. It is really hard to make those numbers make sense. In fact, when we talk about some of the things further down, I was actually at a meeting a week ago with some of the high net worth individuals here in the Austin area, kind of getting a sense of what they were seeing as far as the market and what they're buying, what they're looking at, what wasn't working. STRs weren't working. They're looking at MTRs, mid range. So if you're investing right now too, drop a comment there. Rebecca says she's in South Carolina where they're about the median 340,000. Heather's in Georgetown at 450K. I'm in the Austin area, and Austin, the median for the Austin area, which we're going to talk about, is around 435. But if you're at Austin specific, it is 535. It just went up actually. In fact, if you want a full breakdown of the Austin housing market, watch my YouTube video coming out in about 10 minutes on my YouTube channel. I break down the Austin market pretty in depth. So let's continue to go through this. And thanks for all the comments. Good morning, Jody. Good to see you. In 2020, a housing earning of $59,000 annually could have comfortably afford a typical home mortgage. And remember, you and I were back in 2020 telling people it's a good time to buy a home. It's a good time to buy a home, right? And interest rates were at 3.25, 2.8%. But all us realtors got called scam artists, right? Oh, you're just trying to make money. I don't know. I'd probably wish I would have bought 10 more homes at 3.5% interest rate. You tell me in the comment section. Debbie says 889,000 for a single family in Santa Clarita, California. Jeez. Good thing I don't live there. All right. Currently, approximately 106,000 is needed to comfortably afford the mortgage payment on a typical home, well above the median household income of approximately $81,000. What's interesting is a lot of people say the Austin market or Austin area is so unaffordable, but the median income in Austin is actually in the $96,000. So a lot closer to this, yet our home prices are well over the 343 mark. You tell me if that's what you see in your market as well. Changes to first-time home buyers. Challenges to first-time home buyers. You tell me, when you were a first-time home buyer, did you have these same challenges? Because I can attest that the same thing they're talking about as far as, and I want to go through these numbers a little bit more in detail. The same thing they're talking about homeowners facing now, or potential for homeowners, the same thing I faced when I purchased a home. So I wonder if this number has gone up any. You tell me if you think it has. So challenges for first-time home buyers. It would take nearly 8.5 years of it would take nearly 8.5 years for a household with median income to save enough for 10% down payment on a typical U.S. home. About a year longer than what it would have in 2020. I think about it when I was, starting off my career, it took probably 6 years. I mean, I was 28 when I bought my first home, and it was a lot of saving. And I put 3.5% down, or maybe 5% down. And some of that I actually borrowed from my 401k. If you were in that same position, you tell me, because that's what they're saying a lot of home buyers are going through right now. Keep the comments coming. I love you. Half of first-time home buyers report that at least part of their down payment, so if there's 100 home buyers, 50%, half are saying that they report that at least part of their down payment came from a gift, a loan from family or friends. I see that just the same prevalence as I did today as I did back in 2020. You tell me if you're seeing it more or if you're seeing about the same. To cope with rising costs, home buyers are increasingly teaming up with others to purchase homes, engaging in house hacking by renting out all or part of a home, relocating to more affordable areas, which we'll talk about the more affordable areas. I mean, okay, like right here, Rebecca, perfectly. She borrowed against her 401k. I think a lot of people buying their first home don't necessarily have the equity to buy, the 20% down. So they're doing that. Heather did, what did she say? I did an 80-15 combo loan to buy with PMI on my first home. I think, and I would imagine that was probably back in 2005, 2006, because you don't see those loans too much anymore. But this is what I'm talking about. Even back when the market crashed, a lot of people were having to do two loans in order to get a property. So this isn't really new. So I really wish like Zillow put out, when they did the reporting, because what did they use to do this? They said the analytics behind this were based on the American Home Community Survey, Moody's Analytics, and the Bureau of Labor Statistics. So I wonder how much this has increased. Do you think it's increased? You tell me. What up, Brock? Good to see you, bud. Okay, so let's, if you want to pull up that chart, let's look at the most affordable and the least affordable markets. So Pittsburgh is one of the most affordable at 58,000 income needed to afford a home. Look at that. Birmingham, 74. If you're one of these markets, you tell me if you're having a lot of first-time home buyers buying these markets, if you're having a lot of investors buying these markets, because I know investors I'm talking to are looking at these markets in order to purchase properties. You got Cleveland at 70,800, Memphis at 69,000, New Orleans at 74,000. Man, Birmingham, is that a good place to buy a property? You tell me. Pittsburgh, I don't know those markets that well. San Diego, you need to make almost $280,000 in San Diego to afford a home. Dan Parker, what's up, buddy? Los Angeles, same, it's 279,000. San Jose, California, where people tell me that Austin's not affordable, but they have a tech job in San Jose or the Bay Area, I go, what are you talking about? San Jose, 454,000. Wow. If you're in one of those markets and you're working, I mean, think about that. You probably have 3 people in one home just to afford that. San Francisco's 339,000 and Seattle 213,000. Shout out to my boys over there, The Bachelor, good friend of mine, for living in Seattle. Chris Dalto, good to see you, man. Okay, so the thing that drives me crazy, especially in my comment feed, because I always do a lot about Austin. We're going to get to Austin in a second. Everybody tells me how unaffordable it is because they listen to people like Reventure. And so Reventure was actually quoted in an article about the Austin housing market again. So we'll talk about him in a second. But before we do that, let's talk about what the Goldman Sachs analysis from Resi Club. So, a lot of us are hearing about how much office space is going to start crashing and commercial is going to start crashing, yet we still haven't seen that. Just like the Austin housing market isn't crashing. If you live in a market that people have said is going to crash, drop a comment below. Do you think it's actually crashing? Don in East Dallas says a median is 300,000, yet they still have homes closing below 200,000. Okay. So Resi Club put this through Goldman Sachs, which reveals that despite the surge in remote work, office vacancy rates at 13.5%, financial barriers and safety code obstacles have led to a minimal increase in office to multifamily conversions. So this is one of the things that a lot of people thought was going to happen, right? At least I thought. It's like, okay, we have all these big, beautiful buildings downtown. They're going to just come in, somebody's going to come in, buy off the office space, and then build, more multifamily in there, more, condos. But only 0.49% of that office space has been converted in 2023, and projections foresee a slow rise. Bobby, if you want to put that up to 0.74% by 2028. That's not this year. That's not next year. That's not 26, 27. But by 2028, we're talking less than 1% growth in multifamily conversions. So there's a lot of obstacles in this. And I think that's really interesting is, especially I live in the Austin area. If you want to get any permits done, you have to move heaven and earth to actually get projects off the ground because of the red tape. And that's what these financial entities and these builders are seeing owning this commercial space. And one note here before I go into this. So like I said, a week ago, I met with these high net worth individuals. A lot of them own commercial. They own all of these office spaces. I mean, we're talking people that own hundreds of millions of dollars of commercial real estate. And a lot of them are saying banks are softening and they're requiring more deposits. So if you have $100 million project, right, and it's financed by a lender, what's actually happening is they're going back to the people that have that own the business, and they're saying, hey, look, we need you to deposit $5 million because we think the value of the properties decreased to this amount, which means in order to have our ratios where they need to be, you have to put in another $5 million. And it's happening a lot. In fact, of the group of people that own commercial, I would say about a quarter of them all said, yep, I had that happen. I know a buddy that had that happen. So interesting that banks are softening a little bit. Hopefully Byron will talk about that in the future. Man, I am going long-winded. Sorry, Bobby. Okay. So offense vacancy rates. Are you enjoying this, by the way? Are you enjoying it? Are you enjoying me rambling over here? Okay. Underutilized office buildings due to remote work have increased the U.S. office vacancy rate to 13.5, the highest level since 2000. Amazing. Goldman Sachs analysis projects the office vacancy rate is going to be over 18%. 18% of office buildings are going to be completely vacant. Viability of office buildings, about 4% of U.S. office buildings and between 14 and 16% in the most affected cities may no longer be viable for office space. Imagine that. Downtown Austin, 14 to 16% won't even be viable as office space. Tell me in your market, do you think that those numbers are going to be, if you're in San Francisco or one of those markets? In fact, if you're in San Francisco, you're probably not even awake right now. But do you think that 16% of your office space is going to be unviable for office space in the future? These typically older buildings in suburban or central business districts, our vacancy rates may exceed 30%. Ramble on, brother. Thanks, Brock. Conversion rates only at 0.49% of office inventory has converted into multifamily units in 2023 compared to 0.23%. So it has gone up since pre-pandemic. It's almost doubled, but it's still less than 0.5%. Goldman Sachs experts, Goldman Sachs, the tongue twister of everybody in the chat right now, say Goldman Sachs 5 times fast. Okay. Goldman Sachs expects this figure to rise to 0.74%, still less than 1%. So, and here's why this isn't going to increase crazily, right? Crazily is not a word. Thank you, Bobby. He just wrote that in the chat, man. I saw it, Bobby. Okay. High costs of conversions hinder more significant acceleration. Office prices haven't dropped enough to entice developers, with Goldman Sachs estimating that they need to drop 50% in order for these conversions to happen. Isn't that wild? Institutional barriers such as lenders extending and modifying office mortgages have delayed forced projects as well. Our property sales and projects. Safety code presents obstacles as some office buildings with deep floor plates cannot be restructured to meet residential building codes. So there's a lot of red tape and issues that are going to hinder these buildings from being converted right away. Plus, if you can go to the mortgage lender and you can work out a new deal, that's what a lot of these guys were talking about. Hey, we're just going back and renegotiating. We're just going back and renegotiating. So I don't see this crash coming immediately, like a lot of people who we're going to talk about in a second. Reventure said, oh, we're going to have this big crash. Well, I mean, you have to have a lot of things happen in a nice domino effect for that to happen. But a lot of these builders aren't going to be able just to go at a drop of a hat and convert these buildings into more multifamily, which, as Byron has said, we need more multifamily. We need more doors for people to live in. So in Austin, we could probably still use a lot more multifamily, even though we've overbuilt quite a bit in multifamily. And now we're actually seeing a reduction in how much single multifamily is being built. The annual conversion rate for office and affordable and multifamily is expected to remain low and increase slowly to 0.74% in the next few years, yielding about 20,000 additional multifamily units per year. That's not a lot nationally for sure. This is a small segment of residential housing market compared to the total of 468,000 multifamily units built in 2023. So imagine conversions are going to make, of all of the multifamily built, a very minor amount. Office to residential conversions are increasing, but economic and financial barriers keep a small segment of the housing market out. Okay, let's talk about Austin. Where are you coming in from again? I see Mark's in Tucson, Chastity's in Columbia, South Carolina. Brock, what up? Good to see you. If you're still in the chat, let me hear from you. Okay, the Austin housing market. If you go to my YouTube channel today, I actually have a full video coming out about this. But despite forecasts of the downturn, The Austin housing market is experiencing renewed activity, reflecting a trend seen nationwide despite high prices and interest rates. Home prices Home prices are forecasted to rise across the country despite ongoing high interest rates and concerns of the overvaluation of overpopulation. Okay, overvaluation 91% of homes. This is a Business Insider article. Wait, by the way, it's not coming from me directly. Okay, Austin housing market activity in January, and this is what I reported. This is exactly what I reported because I love all these people in my comments. Oh, it's overpriced. Keep saying that there's a pent up demand in Austin. There's no pent up demand. I hear this from people in my comment section all the time. Go look at my videos, go look at my Instagram. This is what I hear from everybody. But I keep saying there's pent up demand because I have all these buyers on the sideline, right? How many of you have buyers on the sideline because of interest rates right now? Drop a comment below, drop a one. Drop a one. If you have buyers that are ready to go, but they're still sidelined by interest rates, drop a one in the comment section. I want to hear you. Okay. In January, both new listings and homes sold in the Austin Round Rock area increased significantly compared to previous month and year. And why was that? Well, guess what happened? Interest rates dropped into the mid sixes. So I saw everybody come back into the pool. Guess what happened? We saw CPI go up because everybody dropping in, right? Everybody coming in. Who else saw tons of buyers come in early January and in late December because interest rates dropped in the mid sixes? Raise your hand if that was you. Look at all the ones, everybody. Demand for buyers is surging. Oh, Jeremy keeps saying that, but every time Jeremy says it, it's because he's a sleazy salesman, right? No, it's because I am like you in the chat and everybody has buyers that are sitting on the sideline. Evident from the rise in sales despite a decrease in the total number of active listings. So we did see a drop in active listings. But we did see a flood of new inventory pop up. So I don't think the February numbers, if I'm looking out, I don't think the February numbers are going to be as exciting as the January numbers. Yet I did have Nick Shaw. Remember, Byron talked about Nick Shaw on here, and I immediately reached out to Nick Shaw and brought him on my Real Amigos podcast. And Nick Shaw, because he said he didn't have a bright outlook for the Austin area, but on my channel, Nick Shaw, who accurately predicted last year's housing market, said bullish 2%, bearish 2% negative in the Austin market. There's a 4% swing. So really, he's still saying that the Austin market is probably going to end up flat. What do you think? Is your market this year going to end up flat? I think that we're going to see the flood of buyers like we normally do in the springtime in the Austin area. But that's not going to be as much as it normally would because buyers are going to be waiting for interest rates to drop, right? Everybody's waiting for interest rates to drop. And if that does happen at the end of the year, you're going to see a double increase in the Austin market for sure. That's what I'm predicting. But again, I think that's only going to be about a 2% increase overall. That's just because I live here. I see it. I know what's going on. Previous predictions. Oh, and by the way, in this article, it's not in the notes here, but in this article, they did quote how Reventure came out and said Austin's going to be the number one market to crash. And they said he was wrong. So thank you, Business Insider, for getting our back on that. Previous predictions of the housing bubble pop and price decline for Austin have not materialized, with some even naming Austin as the number one. We didn't put his name in here, but it is Reventure, Nick Gurley, Gorelli, whatever his name is, as the market with the most pent-up demand for housing. National Association of Realtors predicts 4.3% jump in existing home prices in the first quarter of 2024. Do you anticipate your market going up 4.3%, just like NAR is predicting? Economists surveyed by Fannie Mae also anticipate a significant increase in housing prices in 2024. Buyers may be adjusting their expectations regarding interest rates as the Federal Reserve delays expected rate cuts due to inflation concerns. The market's resilience in the Austin area suggests positive signs for other markets, indicating a potential continuation of the rising home valuations despite previous concerns of overpricing. All right, in your market, real quick, I want you to drop. Do you think your market's going up or down? Just write up or down real quick. By the way, we had Israel came in here a second ago. Brock's still here. Everybody's still here. So I want to hear from you. Is your market going to go up or down? What are your predictions? Put on your predictions hat. And then, Bobby, while people are doing that, can you pull up the 10-year treasury and see where we're at? And we're going to see where we're at mortgage rates as well. Don says flat to up. Brock says up. Brett says up. Who else have we got in here? Move to Motherload. Where's that? Up. Gabe says up. All right. So, all right, look, we're coming down a little bit on the 10-year. That's good. That's good. Where are we at on interest rates, Bobby? If you look at Mortgage Daily News, oh, I can't read it. We were up slightly yesterday, 7.09. Man, it would be really nice to get this under under a seven handle into these sixes. If you are voting for interest rates to drop under 6% by the end of the week, definitely put your hand raise in there. Thanks for joining the hot sheet. I am Jeremy Knight. You can follow me on my YouTube channel. Just look up my name. I have a video popping off right now about the Austin housing market. Thank you, Byron, for letting me come back on here. Bobby, you're amazing. Thank you guys so much. We will see you in the next hot sheet.